Hello, Design 3. This is Professor Karen Browse. I'm doing my first video for you to learn about making a screen. We're going to be blowing through a lot of different software in the next week, and the videos will support you in your work. So first I just want to tell you about this file that I've prepared for you. It's called Arc Studio Learning Screen, and when you open it, what you're going to find are 3 screens in Rhino, and then a bunch of little tiles down here. We'll pause on those for a moment. So the screens are really the size of different aspects of our project. So for example, this first one is it's about 24 feet long and about 12 feet high. So it might be, the surface is about the size of perhaps a surface or a facade on one of your buildings. This middle one is about 8 feet by 8 feet, so that's the size of perhaps an interior partition. And then this last one is 6 feet tall by 24 feet long, so that would be if you're thinking about designing a screen that might be an exterior fence. There's a lot of fencing in this studio. Or maybe something that would be a horizontal sunshade. So you can use this project to really get into more detail on any aspect of your project. The idea is that we're going to be doing a repetitive screen module. So the first thing I want to talk about is the plugin Grasshopper for Rhino, and we'll talk for 1 second about, you're not going to really learn Grasshopper in great detail, but I have included on the assignment sheet some resources. I definitely recommend that you do at least one of the short digital toolbox tutorials to learn about the Grasshopper interface. There's a lot of other great ones out there, Design Reform, and Mode Lab. So I've listed some of those on the sheet that you can get to. But essentially the main thing to know about, right, is that when you build something in Rhino, you're building geometries, right? And when you build it in Grasshopper, you're really building it more as an iteration. So it doesn't really, in a sense, live in Rhino until you bake it. So we'll get into that more. Let's go over here for a sec and create a Rhino geometry. Right. So if we do this, for example, in Rhino, we make 2 curves, right? And then we loft them. Right, so in Rhino, we now have a geometry, right? So this is something we can copy, we can move around, we can work with. So if we do that same command in Grasshopper, so in Grasshopper we have these geometries that we can set. So we're gonna So right here, this is a geometry. There's really nothing in it. It's empty. So we're going to set one curve. We're going to set this curve. When it's orange, it doesn't have anything. It's unhappy. It has a little warning bubble. When it's green, it's filled up with information. So we're going to do this. Okay. Then we're going to put in a loft command here in Grasshopper. So here, I'm going to plug in the 2 curves. Right, and so now this one lives in Rhino. It's a real geometry in Rhino. This one is in Grasshopper. So here, when it's green, it's filled. If we turn off, right-click, we turn off the preview, right? We're turning it off. It doesn't really exist yet in Rhino. So we can enable this little command here. When it's gray, it is not enabled. When it's bright, it's enabled. When it's green, it has all the information it needs, right? And when it's not green, when it's orange, it doesn't. When it's bright, you're seeing the impact of it, and when it's dark, you're not. Okay, so if I want to take this, right now I can't, you can see I can move my curves around, and every time I move them, it's going to keep lofting those 2 curves, right? I can stretch my curve It's going to loft them. There we go. So whatever I do to these curves, these are plugged into this loft command. It's going to keep lofting it. When I'm ready and I like it, what I can do is I bake it, right? And we're going to, just for the purposes of this, say, yes, please. We want to turn it into a group. Now I've literally moved this surface that I made in Grasshopper, and I've baked it and moved it into Rhino. So now, just like this one, it's a real geometry in Rhino. And you can see over here, the curves are still here. They're still being lofted by Grasshopper, but whatever I do to them, this definition is still active and activating those curves. When I get to another one that I like, right, I can bake it again. Right, now I've got another one. So I would say just take a minute and do that, at least just with these two commands, practicing setting the curve, set one curve that you see here, previewing, turning things on, preview, turning things off. That's going to be really helpful. So take a minute and do that.